No, we have the official. No, we blend in the other music. Da 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 da.
Actually, it's kind of like I was going football a little bit.
Who are we?
We are we are Between Two Teeth. I'm Stephy Steph, and this is Bobby. And Bobby, who do we have on?
We
today?
have a super special guest, the very new president-elect of the American Dental Association, Dr. Brett Kessler. He is Between Two Teeth.
Yes,
We got a backup jacket for reasons we won't get into.
Well,
but
it didn't start as a
Yeah,
backup
it
jacket.
fits.
I know, and it fits you so
really
well. I feel like you have room in there.
I feel like I can fill in when when one of the two teeth can't make it. I can come in.
Am
and
I
be
already?
I think that's possible.
I could be.
Am I already getting?
I mean, yes, exactly.
Are you serious? I'm already getting replaced.
Well,
you've been president-elect for like a day and a half, and he's already replacing.
It's like Johnny Bravo from the Brady Bunch. You know? It's like fits the suit.
That's right.
I can't believe I'm looking at 3 B2 teeth jackets.
So
that's awesome.
we are so blessed that you allowed us to come here and kind of enjoy your start.
And we're actually in a pretty special spot. We're in the boardroom, and I know.
Shh! Don't tell it.
Somebody.
Are we supposed to get it? We did
and
sneak
if you see
in.
the insignia or the emblem behind us, like everyone, this is where the pictures happen. So this is a really
this
cool
is where
spot.
pictures happen. This is where important things are happening and have happened and will happen.
Wow.
So it is special. That's not lost on us. But man, thank you for what you've done so far. Are you excited? What's going through your mind as you're sitting here
other than
drenched
the
in
jacket?
satin?
The jacket's clouding all my
Yeah,
thoughts.
it's really
Got this like vortex going.
Yeah, exactly.
It tends to do that.
No, I'm really on cloud nine, and just to be honored. I'm honored to be in this position to really maximize my impact on the profession through my position, and this is week 2, the start of week 2 of my reign, I guess, and just very blessed to be here.
Man, that is awesome. We're blessed to be here too, and we love. We've been walking around this area. Big beaming smile on your part. You can just feel the energy. You're going to do a lot of good for this profession, especially over the next couple of years.
Why did you want to do this?
Still asking myself that. After I won,
I ask
my
myself
first
that
thought
all the
was,
time.
"Oh my God, what have I done?"
Now what do I do?
I think my 4 years as a trustee, I think those were the maximum, work years. We did a lot of stuff. We went through COVID. Came out of COVID, and we got a lawsuit against a dental insurance company that's working through, and we've expanded access to care in big ways, and this MLR initiative that's going across the country will really make a difference in benefits and how they're utilized.
Just the medical loss ratio for insurance.
The medical loss ratio for insurance. So it's been a great 4 years, and these 2 years. Like I said, what have I done? And
what have you done?
to be in this position, it's kind of crazy. But Ray asked me to, what are my goals? And so I just started writing. And 6 pages later, I sent it over, and and him and Linda, current president Linda Edgar, we're aligned with so many things, and we're about to make some bigger changes. And I ran on the Changemaker platform. And
is that easy or hard?
Changes are difficult for humans,
everyone
and especially
wants,
for dentists.
Everyone
who are
wants
humans.
change. Everyone wants change, right?
But everyone wants change. But when it comes down to, does everyone want to change and have what it takes to change?
No one wants to change.
So that's the most important part of the change message. Is I think everyone wants something a little different, but no one really knows. Some people don't know how, and some people know how. But then when it comes down to actually getting the work done, it's tough.
Well,
there's a reason change doesn't happen.
And here's the deal. There are so many nuanced parts to everything. Like you talk insurance reform, for instance. There are so many moving parts and legal issues and financial issues. And, with many issues, perfect does not exist.
Right.
And sometimes you look at it and say, well, if I can't get perfect, I'm going to take my toys and I'm going to go home. Versus what can we get accomplished? What can we do as a profession? How do we appropriately interact with other stakeholders? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not perfect.
Simon Sinek talks about your what, why, and how, or what, how, and why. And a lot of times he funnels it down to most people know what they're going to do, fewer know how they're going to do it, and a very small amount know why. But when we talk about change, what I'm starting to think about is it is the how that's so difficult, because you're right, there are so many moving parts. And we talk about larger organizations, trying to get larger organizations to change. And you mentioned this last night, you know, in relation to Oprah and some of the lessons kind of from her story, is when we break down the how, start with changing one person or one person's mind. And you never know where you can go from there.
Right. I would subtly change that to say to inspire one person at a time, and you know, and then they get to, you know, walk with that inspiration and decide what to do with it. And
I love that. Make it their own.
Right. But you know, and I'd also say the how is difficult, but you know, we all kind of know what our why is, but it's very difficult to articulate because it's visceral, and you know, and I've learned over the years, you know, in my own growth trajectory, you know, my why is I'm a catalyst for positive change in the world, and I look at everything I do, it kind of fits right into that, and now that I'm clear on that, my how and my what get much easier, and that's why one of the reasons why I ran for president-elect.
Oh my God.
That is awesome. Be a positive person.
I get a little chills. I'm like, oh my gosh. When you said visceral, I'm like, yes, that's so true.
Yeah, it's a different part of your brain, you know, that it's hard to articulate it.
And what I would say, we talk a lot. We actually lecture on communication.
We do talk a lot too.
Yeah, we do talk a lot. If you can believe we lecture on communication.
Please don't lecture
Mostly
me.
filler,
Mostly filler.
So we're going to talk about
Yeah, it's definitely not visceral.
We can't lecture when you got satin jackets on.
I get a visceral feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's what we talk about, and it's something that I learned from someone. There's lyrics, the words you say, and then there's a melody, how you say it. And people often forget what you said, but they don't forget how you made them feel. And I've seen how you make people feel and the impact that you have on people. And it's going to be an interesting journey to see how things play out over the next couple of years as you try to change an organization. And there's lots of people that want change.
And I love when you talk about lyrics and melody. I think of songs. So when I first hear a song on the radio, I hear the melody.
Yeah, we're very different.
Actually, the first 5 times I hear the melody until I start, once I know I like the melody, but then that's when I start listening to the words and the artist's message, what they actually wanted to talk about, would never have gotten to me unless I like the melody.
Right.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
I'm a melody guy.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to words. I don't pay attention to a lot of stuff, unfortunately.
But that's
sometimes.
my point, actually. I think most people are melody people, and you have to have the right melody before your words can hit home.
Yeah. My middle daughter is applying for colleges right now, and she wrote in her personal essay about music, and you know, and she said music is what emotions sound like.
Ooh.
And this is from a 17-year-old kid. I mean, it's
You're like, that's so deep. That's deep.
So music is powerful. You know, when we have patients that are anxious and they're hypertensive in our office, we actually have very specific songs that we play that have some data to support that actually brings down the heart rate.
Master of Puppets by Metallica.
That's one of them.
No.
We try to mirror. That's a mirror.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no, what was you said your daughter said what about emotions and
music is what emotions sound like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
deep.
I mean, just the range of different songs. I mean, that's where people get through. I know some people have said they've listened to Eminem or people like that in that genre to get through really tough times.
Yeah.
And so I can't help but think that's an aligning in some way.
Absolutely.
I think, as you know, and you have done and continue to do a lot in the well-being space. With what you're doing, Steph, you're a American Dental Association Wellness Ambassador. I'm on the DWAC, the Dental Team Wellness Advisory Committee.
You got it.
Took me ages to figure out how to say that. So we're all involved in that space. We really try to push connection. And what I found in me as a state board regulator, when people lack connection, some really tricky things happen. And we love being connected. We're blessed that we connected to you. We actually delivered a watch band to your Max in Cusco, Peru. We
my
were
son.
Yes, we were literally like here on a Friday, and we're in Peru on a Saturday.
After the well-being summit.
After the well-being
First
summit.
ever well-being summit.
Yeah.
And it's cool. It's kind of fun meeting kiddos because they sound like you and
Yes,
they
it
somewhat
was-
look like you. And I'm
yes.
like, oh my gosh, this is BK
It really kind of freaked us out.
2.0.
We're like, oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very neat.
It's pretty cool that I just want to talk about the wellness. So today actually is my 25th anniversary of taking my last drink. Today's my sober birthday.
Congratulations.
And that was an inflection point in my life where, I was at a turning point, a crossroads where should I live or should I die? And, and I was blessed to choose the path of life. And, and that's really the time where I got inspired to live my best life, because I was so locked up in my addiction. And and I share this openly because I know there's a lot of people struggling, and every time I share it, I never regret it, because people hear something that they connect with, and they're not alone. And in addiction and mental illness, you're totally isolated, and you can't see past your brain. And the connection, what I got early on, there were angels that just appeared to give me a message and guide me along a way that I never imagined, and my life has turned out in ways that I never ever imagined, and I'm so grateful for that. And so I got to connect with a bunch of my recovery friends this morning before you guys, and I get to connect with you guys today. And so it's a great day. It's a good start of a day.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, how to follow that up. That's huge. That's a huge milestone. And I love that milestone's happening and you are in the position you're in.
Yeah.
All of that is full circle, and I don't know, just kind of hope in life, and it doesn't have to be perfect.
Nope.
To get real big success.
There are so many people hurting and suffering right now. And I think a lot of them are doing it in silence. And I think, they can feel alone and just not have people to reach out to. And hearing your story, and to what Steph said, the impact, the simple fact that you were sitting in this chair in the boardroom at the ADA 25 years ago today, I'm hoping that is just a shining light for so many people.
Yeah, I hope so too. Because I remember what it was like to be in that isolation, and I saw absolutely no hope. It was a very dark point.
And what I would say, your experiences and you and I interacting helped me at the state board level to make some changes in Texas to destigmatize people getting help. And if we didn't have that connection, that probably would not have happened, at least at this time. It's just, you never know where the road in life will take you.
Right.
And it can get a whole lot better. And I think we've talked about it, how all of our experiences, all three of us, have had challenges that certainly made us better today than if we didn't have those.
Yeah, it's testing our resilience, and the experiences that we experience create the the trajectory. And and I talked about this during my campaign for the ADA, is that we have big issues for the profession, big issues for the organization. We can't solve all those big issues in one swoop, and just like my recovery 25 years ago, I take it one day at a time, and it's 9,131 days. That's the way I look at it, and tomorrow is 99132. And so the ADA's problems too, they're not going to solve in one swoop, but we can move forward a little bit, and then keep moving forward. And as we do that, 25 years from now, it's going to be a different organization.
How do you think endurance sports have played into your mindset with what you were just saying, as one step at a time? That's a long play. That's a long run. So,
and I talked about this too on the campaign trail, that I viewed the whole campaign as an Ironman.
Yeah.
And when I was in Hawaii in 2018, I came off the swim, 2.4 mile swim. I came off the 112 mile bike, and I look at this marathon looming large in front of me. I've got 8 hours of heavy exercise already in the day. There's no way I can run a marathon, but I can run 1 mile. And I know there's an aid station at that mile where I can replenish, and then I can run another mile. And before I knew it, I was at the finish line. And so, the mindset when I got to Ironman Day, yes, it was a physical challenge, but it was much more of a brain game than a physical game.
What about, and just hearing you talk about that, just looking at mindsets, and I know a lot of young people who do get into kind of maladaptive coping mechanism strategies when stress comes up in their lives. Some of that, I can't help but think, is, I don't want to just sum it up as impatience, but not being able to be okay with one step at a time. You want it all right now, today. And if it's going to take more than 2 years, why am I even trying?
Right. Well, it's the mark of a high achiever. Especially for us as dentists, we are high achievers, and we're used to seeing results from our efforts, immediate and profound results,
and perfect.
Perfection is instilled in us in dental school, and it's ridiculous to do that. Because we're, especially in dental school, we're just neophytes. We're early on in the game, and we've got some growth to do to become who we are. But I don't know. I try and find a win in every day, and small wins. Recognize the moments, and I journal a lot, so I kind of write those journals in my journals, and and then that trained me to see the good in every day, even though it may not be profound and big, but the small victories lead to large victories.
And I think unlearning, we're, at least my generation and younger, we are a generation or generations of immediate gratification. So when we look at our education cycles, every 4 years a big plus happens. When you get out of dental school or residency, that doesn't necessarily happen anymore. There's no big, after 4 years, we're going to celebrate you. You've achieved this thing. So you're just looking at, now there's just a long runway, and wait, when are you celebrated? Or when do you know you've achieved something? And so I think that's where kind of endurance sports, or at least the endurance mindset, little step at a time, and this is a long haul, and that's okay.
So in dentistry, I celebrate with patients.
Yeah.
And first of all, I'm honored that the patients are entrusting me with their care, and when I deliver a set of veneers or a denture, and it changes their life, and my whole team gets to celebrate that. Or if a crown that just looks great and it fits, or a filling, I got to create carve a filling on a patient that looks amazing. The patient may not appreciate it, but I do. I'm like, 25 years ago, I wasn't going to be doing dentistry anymore,
And as you talk there, this is one thing that Max and you, I think, have in common, your son, is the way you guys create your own milestones. You create your own happiness. You don't wait for somebody else to tell you. Max definitely doesn't.
Yeah.
and it's cool for me because, I don't know, for me going through it, I always thought somebody else had to tell you did a good job.
Yeah.
Someone had to tell you, hey, you got an A on this exam. And so getting out there, and like you're saying, you can create your own milestones.
I think seeking external validation is a fool's errand that you'll never satisfy, because there's it's never enough.
Yeah, you have to tell me that about 10 more times.
In the next hour.
This is 2 or 3.
Yeah, 2 or 3. Okay, baby steps.
No, but when it's internal, it's I don't know, it's so more profound better. And it's enough. At some point I recognized I'm enough. And in this whole process of this election year, I've been stretched in ways that I've never ever imagined. And and as I'm outside of my comfort zone, it's not always pretty, but I had a good team around me to keep pushing me forward, and I love the person that I'm becoming as a result of this challenge. And and so it's but it's a little by little by little, and I step back and I write about it, and and I'll compare my writings from now till a year from a year before. It's a different,
that's good.
It's a whole different paradigm.
Different Brett.
And that's good.
I love when you said that, and I heard you say that before. You love the person you are becoming. We all have such an ability to continue to evolve and change and have experiences. And some of those experiences are going to be absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
I had a relation.
That's growth.
That's growth. I have learned so much through struggle, and it has been so challenging and so difficult, and having dark times, but you're better on the other side.
Yeah, this too shall pass. You know, the dark times and the bright times. It's just the wave of life.
There's a book out there by Adam Grant called Think Again, and they talk about the need for us to keep changing, not just how we think, but our stances in life. And so when you talk about going back and rereading journal entries from a year before, so I'm glad they're different. Yeah. That's good. If they were exactly the same, then what have we done in a year? We've
stuck in a rut, and we've decorated that rut.
Yeah,
and
very beautifully, by the way.
Yeah.
Pretty proud of it.
It's comfortable, but it's our
comfy.
Rut.
Yeah. Yes.
We like our rut.
There's a lazy chair in there.
What?
Yeah, it is our rut.
But every once in a while we peek out of the rut and see.
No, it's cold out there.
Right, and then we go back in. But it's a courageous act to grow, intentionally and try something that you're not comfortable with, because we may be comfortable in our ruts, but eventually it comes to a head, and that's where I think, the mental illness part, and especially among our colleagues, it's where they decide, I can't see over that rut anymore, and they lose hope.
Yes,
and and that first step out of the rut is the most courageous step anyone will ever take, and it doesn't matter if it's perfect, doesn't matter, if you don't know the outcome, but you get out of that rut, there's something out there that's better.
Yeah.
And, and it's that first step is what we really try and, have to emphasize that people try to take.
And having the people around you that are also not comfy in their ruts can help out a lot. Right. Because if you have other people that you're like, oh, we're all in ruts together, this is great, we're gonna stay here.
No, I've always surrounded myself with people that inspire me, and got between two teeth.
Oh, yes. Stop! Well, I got it.
I'll expect the $100 check.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
we pay
pass
in
that through the
satin.
LLC.
Well, the benefit of being connected is you get to hear people's stories. Yeah. Part of why we're here today is we had a conversation a couple days ago and talked about colleagues that had died by suicide, and we really wanted to come here and support you and see you on this new adventure, but also just all of us are in this well-being space. Such a multifactorial situation that got us here, and there's a whole lot of possible solutions. Yeah. What do we need to do as a profession on this?
So, first of all, I lost somebody about 3 days ago, a colleague, to suicide here in Chicago, and it hurts. It really hurts, especially when, resources are available. But there's this stigma of, if I seek help, I might get in trouble, and I might lose my golden standing and reputation in the world, and and it's sad that that's still there, but I love the work that you're doing at the state board level to lower that stigma. And then we can't afford to lose one more of our colleagues. And so we as a profession have to be there to support our colleagues and stand by them and provide a light while they go through what they go through, and and whatever that looks like to support them, to encourage them to get help, or just kind of just hold their hand as they pass through what they're passing through. That's what professionalism is. We take care of each other and as colleagues, and it's ironic that the paradigm is we're healthcare professionals and we do everything we can to help our patients improve their health, but it seems like we shoot our own wounded. And that's got to change. And I'm grateful there were resources when I hit my bottom. There were people there that extended a hand, and that's what how do you pay that back? No, I pay it forward. And and that's, I try and be there for when people are there, and we all have to do that.
Man, I mean, I know we were talking about this prior, and you just touched on it, but it is so tough to overcome that hurdle of, I will be found out. Everybody will know, and it'll never be the same for me again. And like you're speaking to, that is insurmountable for some. And just being connected with people in our we run a study club back in Dallas, and part of that study club, we always talk about how are you really? Having a question, because a lot of people say, hey, how you doing? Good, good, and then we go.
Right.
But stopping and saying, hey, how are you doing really? And really being available for that person, especially if they say, not great, and not going, okay, cool, bye, but actually being there to listen to them, just like you're talking about.
Yeah. And I always look at it, mental health is on a continuum. And some of the data that I presented to my own board when we were trying to make changes to licensing was the data shows 20% of people in a given year will have a mental health issue. 20%. And it's a continuum. And so many things can be done along that continuum.
Right. And I like to say 20% of humans will have a problem, and most dentists are humans. And I say,
would you say I'm a human?
Yeah,
Steph says I'm a robot at times.
But I say that jokingly because, but we
That's
feel
a
that because we're dentists, we're high achievers, that we're above humanness, that we can't show signs of weakness and our fallibility. And so remind us that we are human, and as humans we. It's okay to have challenges, and we can get through them. So, I love where we're going with wellness at the ADA level, because we're starting to provide resources for people as they just may be on that downslope. They're not all the way at the bottom. They're just, and that's where you can get coaching. That's where, podcasts like this where we inspire people,
or good podcasts. Good
podcasts. YouTube
we'll link
channel.
We'll link the good podcast at the bottom.
No, but where you can, we have resources for people before they hit their bottom. They don't have to go through things like I went through, and they may not have to make the decisions. Should I, where I see no hope, should I just end it now? And so we catch them upstream and supportive, like, even in what you just said about your study club. How are you? How are you really? And we open up these vulnerable channels where people can share and in a safe place, and that's a human thing.
And I feel like that's the cool thing about what you represent through your story, which is becoming more, people know it more and more in dentistry, especially with the role you're taking on now as president-elect. And just through your story, you're showing it to everybody. You're not hiding it back.
Yeah, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Why would I hide it?
And that's the point.
That's my mindset.
Yes, and how many people is that's going to change? That's going to move the dial more than anything.
Right.
Is having the president of our organization say, hey, this is my stuff. This is my story.
This is my story. There is so much hope.
And seeing key leaders in the ADA support you in that. That's the example. That's what we need to see.
Thank you.
And to Steph's point, at a local level, at an individual level, for someone to be able to say, I'm actually really struggling right now. I've had conversations with dentists in the last week that I talked about last night at dinner that are just, they're struggling. And they're on that continuum, and they're really in a tricky spot. And what we do, I think, as practitioners is super duper stressful. And staffing issues, patient issues, insurance issues, life issues, it's super tough. Sometimes I feel bad with what we do on Between Two Teeth because we're traveling to Peru or we're on this motorcycle journey, and there's a lot of struggles. For me, Peru was a bit of a struggle because, it's a lot of elevation
Your
and
words,
steps.
not mine.
Yeah, exactly. And we do have several podcasts
You're
where
all
I'm just
having
kind of like, it's elevation. But enjoying even the struggle parts. And our lives are not perfect by any stretch. I don't think anyone's lives are. And I think social media does a lot of really bad things, but it gives opportunities to connect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think running up mountains, living in Colorado.
She ran up a mountain. You run up mountains. I slowly worked my way.
But it's a metaphor for climbing out of the bottoms, and you wonder. It's hard. It's very hard, and you're wondering, am I, going the right direction? And your head is down, and you're going up, these little steps, and and all of a sudden you get up there and you look back, and you're like, holy cow. This is an amazing view. It changes your vantage point, which changes the paradigm in your head.
And like whenever we were in Peru, what I realized hiking up to see, you know, Machu Picchu, is it's confounded, or you just compound how difficult it is, what the mindset needs to be when you don't know how close you are to the top. And when we were going around, the way we would go up the day 2 was the toughest part. And they just said, okay, here you are now, go yonder, enjoy. And there's nothing, I wasn't tracking our distance. I was a little bit probably too competitive with one of the guys on the trip.
Yeah, you were.
And the thing that kept me going, I had no idea how much further it was. I knew I was exhausted, but I also knew my why. It was an immature why, I'll admit, but I knew my why. And that in itself is where perseverance comes from. And I told myself it didn't matter how much further it was going to be, but I was going to keep doing exactly what I was doing.
Right. And, you know, there's so much faith in, you know, there's a top. You know, many people have been there.
People promised you there's a top.
People have been there.
Yes.
And, you know, and we're pretty smart people
as
professionals that, you know, we're not blazing this trail.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've blazed trails on hikes and mountains and runs and stuff, and that's, you know, but I always know I could turn back around. Right. And so that was my out. But the faith in there's something better at the top, or there's something better when you take that first step. You know, you leap and the net always appears.
Oh, I love that. Two things that
it really does.
One of my cross country coaches said, at the end of every race, you will always have 5% left. You may not feel it, but it's there. Reach for it. Second thing is the Stockdale paradox, and I think I'm getting that phrase right, but it talks about this is a prisoner of war who was able to get through the time that they were in these camps, where a lot of their fellow comrades, they were not able to do that. And what this paradox talks about is knowing you will overcome, you will be victorious, but at the same time being able to face the brutal everyday facts,
brutal realities.
Right.
Not everything is ponies and lollipops. Is that a saying? Or
those must be your 2 favorite things.
You're so terrible. What I learned,
it's a Texas thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, Canadian. I'm Canadian.
What I learned.
10-gallon hats are more our style.
What I learned in Peru at going upstairs for 5 hours at elevation is you can do amazing.
It took you 5 hours.
It took me 5 hours. Yes. Steph was up there in like 2.5. She ran up. But you can do amazing things by taking small little steps.
Right.
To your point that you talked about before, when someone feels as though they're in that pit, it's that first little step to move. And it ends up being a huge step, but it takes a little action. It takes asking for help from a friend, a colleague, reaching out and calling some of these support lines, or getting online, talking to their doctor.
You know, when you say that, it just reminds me. Whenever, we love calling Brett Kessler BK. Whenever BK, he always is inviting people to go on runs with him in the morning, but it's always at an early hour. And
she stood him up. Stephy Steph stood him up first time. She goes, "Yeah, I'll be there."
The
5.
toughest step
doesn't show up.
Is when that alarm clock goes off in the morning, and it's like running with BK, and you're like, "Oh, dang! Why did I commit?"
But that's when the magic happens.
That's when the magic happens. You're not wrong, and so I've become a little bit smarter. I won't commit. I'll just get up.
Getting up, showing up.
It is the hardest step, is just that first step out the door.
Yeah, but so once you get that first step behind you, so Machu Picchu, you weren't dreading every step for that first hour.
No.
For the first 5 minutes, maybe, once you caught your breath, and you had this momentum. And
I was going so slow that I'm not even sure.
But you weren't like in your mind about, I can't take this step. I can't go one more.
At no point. Right. So I wanted to make that trip about the journey versus the destination. And I've really struggled with enjoying the journey. And at no point did I say to myself, I'm not going to complete this. I was worried before I started the trip. I'm like, you hear all these stories of people, Steph would have to carry me out of the place.
2.5 miles high above
help.
Sea level. It's a challenge.
It is absolutely a challenge, and that's the magic of it, though. And they have a point of no return on the trail that we went on, and they talk about it once you get to the summit, because the summit's not Machu Picchu. The summit happens around day 2 or 3, And after you hit that, it's not all downhill for sure, but to go back is even worse. It's tougher in a way.
Yeah, but I learned about enjoying the journey through journaling. Okay, well, I'll do a gratitude journal. And I would start out with big things. I'm grateful for my job. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my family. But I couldn't repeat it.
Yep.
So I'd have to find minutia things that I was grateful for during the day. I'm grateful that this microphone works really well and someone invented it. So I started learning to develop that muscle of enjoying, recognizing these gratitude moments in the moment. And it's part of the journey.
How important was, I've heard so many people talk about gratitude journals and the benefit, and it doesn't start at first. But like if I am in a bad mood, trying to think of what I'm grateful for is so tough for me.
Yeah.
I want to think about all the bad things.
Right. It's
changing the mindset. And there's so much data to support gratitude journaling and just waking up and saying these are the 3 things that I'm grateful for. You really got to take care of your mind. We take care of our clothes, our cars, we change the oil, we pay disability premiums, but we need to do more to take care of ourselves, body, mind, soul.
So, we thought our way into that mindset. It's very difficult to think our way out of that mindset. And
what do you mean?
Yeah.
Well, our brain brought us to this challenging moment, to this challenging time, and so it's very difficult for the brain to get out of that on its own. And so I think a physical action will change the physiology. So we're going for a quick run or doing jumping jacks or breathing. And all of a sudden we're releasing endorphins, we're releasing serotonin, we're releasing dopamine. And it changes the physiology of the brain, and it changes the way the brain is connecting with things, and it overrides that negativity.
Yeah.
And so we have to, we can't think our way out of this problem. We can act our way out of this problem. And even though we may not see the benefit in it at the moment, I've never regretted running.
Yeah.
Even when I got hurt, it has never regretted it. But it always changed my physiology.
That's a great tool to have in the toolbox, by the way, what you just talked about. Because when you're in a negative mindset, a way to rewire real quick is to do something physical or even diaphragmatic breathing.
Exactly. Yeah. Breathing
breathing exercises, meditation, running. There was actually just another study that was released that said running actually worked better than medications for depression. And changing your own physiology, getting out there. And with that too, it takes one step and then you take another step.
But that first step is the hard one.
The first step. So I guess is that our push?
Maybe.
I like to push people. That's part of my why is push, be courageous, take that first step.
I love running as sometimes a supplement, but just an exchange of medication. I mean, my brother and I going through high school, I was a cross country runner.
She was a big deal in Texas.
No,
like state champion.
I didn't know it at the time,
holder
but because I was running every day, my family has ADHD that's rampant in my family, but I didn't need meds. My brother did.
Right.
I could focus because I ran 7 miles that morning, and I wasn't the mood swings weren't there like they were with my brother. And so running, I didn't even know it at the time, but looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's clear to me.
Yeah.
It's helpful.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna go on a diatribe on what is wellness, and and there's
we do diatribes all the time, so that's just
there's a physical aspect of wellness. We want to be healthy, heart, our brain, our lungs, all the systems and stuff, and so I try and do something every day for my physical health, and I'm very careful about what I put in my body, with a healthy gut. 90% of the serotonin is released in our gut. And in order to have a healthy gut, we have to, have a wide variety of good food. And so I stay away from the ultra processed foods. And, that's one of the things we're doing at the ADA as well. So, but, just getting the physical part right, getting the mental part right, grow your mental capacity. How do you, what am I doing? Okay.
Oh, no.
How do you, grow your brain. So, grow your professional skills, read books, find ways to become inspired. And then you want your emotional capacity of wellness. And, so feel your emotions, maximally every day, even if they're negative, because if you stuff them, they turn into physical problems. And then
what do you think on that? Because I know
you got something. Yeah.
Well, hold on. I mean, spiritual.
No, then your spiritual side of the of wellness. Whatever gets you up in the morning that lights your fire. Sometimes it's religion. Sometimes it's climbing a mountain in Machu Picchu. I love sunrises. That's why I like to go early. You should have seen the sunrise this morning from our room. It was amazing. But then the physical, the mental, emotional, spiritual, and then the connection, the social.
Yeah.
And we need connection for wellness.
I feel like because of your journey, you've been able to live multiple lives.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Where you've been able to kind of be born again, and you have a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say you're on a mountain looking down, but you've seen the totality of it, and you can, because when you're talking about a nuance. One thing I realized with running, because it dropped me on my butt too, because I wasn't fixing the problem, I was just running away from it. So what I was in my head, I didn't have the tools that you're talking about with meditation, journaling, feeling your emotions and processing them. I was just using running to numb.
Right.
And there's a difference.
And eventually it caught up to you, right?
Yes, through injury and just breakdown and depression.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to learn in a really brutal, tough way, through dental school, positive coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
And that's not where you want to learn it.
But any time to learn it is a good time to learn it.
It is.
Okay, it's better if you had it before, but you can always learn it.
Yes, but
no matter where you're at.
As you talk, you're talking about this whole mind-body concept that you don't necessarily get a purview to ever in life, but especially if you've had a challenge and a story, that's when you get this. You're able to talk about it in completeness like you are, with the nuances peppered in.
The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is today, and just making it happen. Right. I love and I'm intrigued when you talked about embracing all emotions. Mm-hmm. Even the tough emotions of just, is it more of an acceptance of, okay, this is how I feel. I feel really, talk me through that.
So again, it's recognizing things in the moment, growing your emotional intelligence is really key to that, and self-awareness. What am I feeling right now? Is it real? Mm-hmm. Is it useful? What can I do with it? Yeah. Do I need to change it? And if I do, how do I change it? And whether it's extreme highs or extreme lows, because it always will pass. I've had an amazing couple weeks of extreme highs. Yeah. And it's going to crash. Yeah. But over time, if you grow your emotional intelligence, which is a very growable, strategy and habit. I will not crash as hard, and I will not get up as high, because I recognize, that the universe will carry on with or without me. Yeah. And how will I integrate my time here into what's happening in maximum moment?
And that's a very even
that's a healthy way.
Yeah, that's a very healthy.
We actually
back to this podcast and go, okay, taking notes.
on a
Me too.
Steph,
taking
on
notes.
a podcast before. We talked about Tom Hanks, and he's sitting around a table. I don't know if you've seen this video. He's sitting around a table with other actors, I think Robert De Niro and some really big name actors. And Tom Hanks just said, when you're on top of the world and everything's going awesome, this too shall.
You're supposed to.
Am I saying it the
other?
Oh, I messed it up. Okay.
You
do it.
Great.
I did. Okay,
cut.
pretend.
Yeah,
We're gonna cut. If we knew how to edit, we would actually edit that out. Let's start it off all over again.
Tom Hanks goes, if you are in the worst spot of your life, just give it time. This too shall pass. Then he goes. If you're having a great time and everyone loves you and everything's going well, this too shall pass.
Don't worry, this too shall pass.
Yeah, and that's the magic.
And that's the important part. And just learning to love life's up and downs, or should you love the really tough times?
No, I mean, no one ever loves tough
Maybe
times.
Not in the moment.
But there's always a lesson there.
Yeah.
And but with the mindset of this too will pass, it's not permanent. And there's a brighter side on the other side of this.
Yeah.
But the question that I ask myself, is it real? Is it useful? Is it working? Do I need to change it? And if so, how? It's kind of humbling, and then I love the word humility, and I strive for humility. And on the other side, humility and humiliation have the same word roots, but a very different meaning. And humility is a full understanding and comprehension of where I'm at, and a willingness to do whatever I need to do to be the best I can be. That's humility. Mm-hmm. Okay, humiliation is full of shame and anger and fear, and but it's the same word root. Yeah. And how do we shift from that humiliation to humility? Is I think what we're all looking for in life.
Do you think there are emotions that are unreal?
I think every emotion, it's real in our brain, but it may not be truthful. Okay, because our brains can skew things into it doesn't fit. And magnify it in ways that like if I'm fearful about a difficult conversation I have to have, I'll go through my head about it, and it'll spin, okay. And it'll keep me up at night, and then when I actually have it, it was like 5 minutes and it was nothing like I imagined.
Yeah, you're like, oh,
so the emotions can lead to thought processes that may not be completely accurate or truthful.
So when you're talking through, so you have an emotion and you ask yourself, is it real and is it useful? Mm-hmm. That helps probably tailor what you entertain.
Yeah, and so like when I won as my election as president-elect last week, it was an extreme high.
Yeah.
It was so surreal for me. And is it real? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it useful?
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's useful.
You'll wake up tomorrow.
But my next thought was, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah.
And that's the fear immediately came in that I spent all this effort to get to this through this election. Then oh my God, I got to do work. And but then I have tools, so I started writing my goals and started sharing them with the rest of the leadership, so we can get aligned and do the work that I set out to do. Because it wasn't just about getting through the election; it was about really making a difference. Yeah. And so, but the emotions will skew it. I could be like, oh my God, I'm the president-elect. Yeah. That doesn't serve anybody. This is not an ego thing for me. I've got a job. I don't need, this to boost my resume. I'm not looking for another job.
It's also appropriate to feel. I think there's a Tim McGraw song out there. It's okay to feel the pride.
Sing
Absolutely.
it. Sing a couple.
Yeah.
Wait.
No,
as your agent,
so he is our agent.
Sing and we don't dance.
We're not.
That's either the worst agent ever. The backstory is we did a little touch of singing on some videos, and BK was gonna be. Did we force him to be our agent, or he offered to be our agent?
I think I want to say he offered.
Yeah, he's just like, never do
better,
that
better
ever
on the
again.
Negotiation
Please.
team.
Well, your commission on $0 is still zero. So
So the lyrics from it, I was trying to think of it as you said it, but it's let yourself feel the pride, but always stay humble and kind.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because what got me here was so far beyond my own mental capacity. I put the work in, but like I said, 25 years ago today, I was contemplating whether I should be alive or not. And the powers of the universe are in play, and and I'm so grateful for every day that I have. It's like bonus time for me.
Yeah.
And so I just I recognized it, I felt it, I cried tears of gratitude. I got to hug my family. I got to hug everyone who helped me. I had a great team around me. It's very humbling.
As people talk about their stories, it's especially yours as well. You're celebrating this 25th. And would you say celebrate? Is that a proper term?
Absolutely, it's a milestone.
It's a hero's journey. If you look at even like Shakespeare or kind of large literary works, the hero's journey. You have to leave your family. You have to go down to the depths of something, and you return. And on your return journey to your family, to your loved ones, that's where you get all of these tools and these powers.
Right. And the universe provides these guides.
Yeah, they provide. There's
as
a
you
guide.
go along, right?
Yes,
I call them the angels appear, with a message.
Yes, I know, the angels.
And so it, and you come back full circle home on this hero's journey, and you're like, you're changed. but you're back doing the work.
And I would say, and then different but very important work begins. Right. That's when you're ready to go.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's helped create the person who you are today.
100%. It is the reason I am who I am.
It's the reason you are who you are, and it's giving you the ability to do, I think, the important things that you want to do for this organization and our profession and the world. Let's the world. We want to change the world, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And we're doing it today through this right now.
That's right.
One person at a time.
One person at a time. You can't help everybody, but you can help the person in front of you, for sure.
There are security breaking in right now, so we're going to have to get off this real quick. We're going to lean on him.
Right.
We're going to be like,
exactly.
got us in here.
I've got a key, really. Look, I've got a key.
Well, listen, we are so grateful.
Very much so.
We didn't know that this was 25 years today, and for you to spend time with a couple characters and drenched in satin means the world to us. You've moved us on our journey, and we appreciate that.
I'm getting over the satin, sorry.
Yeah, it is hard to.
It's an odd
It's
material.
hard to talk seriously.
I mean, you can't talk seriously when you hear the word satin.
But at the same time, when people see these jackets, they have so much joy.
The real question is, did BK think he'd be drenched in satin on his 25th anniversary?
No, my life is so beyond what
I
it's so beyond. ADA
I've hit a new
boardroom.
high.
Yeah.
The ADA boardroom. Well, and it goes to show you, never say never.
That's right. Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. And if you refuse to say never, and you're open to opportunities, oh my gosh, this world, what more can we say about that?
Nothing.
Speechless.
I'll just have to say.
All right, guys.
I'm so glad to be between two teeth. You guys are
man.
amazing. You really are. I love our relationships and love what you're doing for the world. And glad I can help and contribute. In any way.
You. Thank you, my
BK.
friend.
We appreciate you.
We do. Thanks for joining us. If you love what we're talking about, hit subscribe,